everyone is staying safe and healthy and keeping your good sense of humor. And tonight I'd like to welcome Andrea Klim. I've known Andrea for what, 10, 12 years, something like that?
Yeah.
Yep, and you're my astrology person. And you know how to break down astrology to layman's terms. Because some astrologers I know say, well, your moon is in the 7th house of the rising sun. And it's like, well, okay, that sounds great. I have no idea what that means. So you're able to actually put it in terms that people can understand and wrap their head around. Okay, so I just want to welcome, trying to install, okay. So Stacy, just do the best you can with, Stacy's having problems, so let me jump on the chat room for a second. And oh, okay, all right, sorry about that. So we have people literally from all over, from Nevada to Massachusetts to Canada, and we have Stacy from Georgia and a few people from here. I don't know where everyone else is from, but welcome. And Andrea, this is your baby. Go for it. And Maureen, you want to start recording? Okay, you're already recording.
I'm already recording.
Okay.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it very much. And hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Klim. I live in Florida right now, but I'm a native New Englander. And I have been studying astrology since 1998, and I'm very, very lucky to be able to do what I do, because I absolutely love doing this. And Elizabeth asked me to talk about the U.S. Election tonight on November 3rd. And I just want to say right up front, I'm not going to be predicting the outcome of this election, because astrology is a tool for stating, is not a tool for stating conclusions. It provides us with understanding, sense of the planetary cycles and their influences within us and around us. So I am going to provide lots and lots of detail. I have about, oh my gosh, 18 pages of notes that I prepared, wow, studying all different aspects of this. And, you know, astrology is really a tool for learning about our souls and our evolution and our growth. So it's the most amazing tool that I've ever learned, and I think that I'm just going to go ahead and get started here tonight, and because there's oh, and I already got my pages of my notes and all mixed up here. But what I did to prepare for this is I looked at a couple different sources of different predictions from different avenues, and not just astrology. And one of them was, there's a Professor Alan Lichtman. I don't know if anybody's heard of him, taught history at the American University for 50 years. And he has been right about every election since 1984. And he's been accurate in his predictions for over 4 decades. And he's been called the Nostradamus of presidential elections. He uses something called the keys to the White House, which is a system to predict. And so apparently it's something he calls 13, he uses 13 different keys, and he predicts that Trump is going to lose. Then the next source that I looked at was John Antonakis, professor of organizational behavior at the Faculty of Business and Economics at the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. He says Trump is more charismatic, has an advantage due to economic fundamentals being shaky. And then the Yale model predicts a close election because we are in a coronavirus fog, which is the truth. Right now, they say it all depends on what happens in the financial sectors in the third quarter. So with that, I looked, there is a a couple different astrologers that I listened to what they had to say about it. And then I drew up my own chart for Trump, for Donald Trump, and for Joe Biden, and the U.S. birth chart. And I've looked at transits. Transits are how the outside world, meaning all the planets and their cycles, are affecting this person's energy, their life, what these influences are. And so there was one other thing that I looked at, one other source, and there's a man who's called an astrologer. His name is Henry Weingarten, and he says Trump will win. He says he's the manager. This man is the manager director for the astrologers funds of Investor Intel, but he was wrong with his financial predictions about the stocks in August. So the fact is that stocks peaked in late August to 8% over what they are today, which is huge. So that was a 25% loss. So theoretically, this was a short-term increase. Weingarten predicted a significant drop. So those are the sources that I looked at, and so I'm going to go right in to talk about the U.S. birth chart. Now, I don't know if it would be advantageous to share the chart or just talk about it. Does anybody have any requests on that?
Well, my personal understanding is sometimes it's tough if it's going to be something that you have to really think about and visualize, that maybe if you share it, it might make it a little easier. So that would be more your call, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my opinion as well. I can share my screen because I'm going to talk about the U.S. birth chart to start.
That would be great. Thank you, Andrea.
All right. I love doing that because I'm a very visual person also. So, and by the way, I don't know if I said thank you to everybody for coming on. I'm happy to see everyone. When you spend so much time alone, it's great, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get the U.S. birth chart up here. Right now I got Joseph Biden's up. I'm going to get the U.S. birth chart. Wait, can you see my screen?
No, I don't see it yet.
Okay, I'm disabled from screen sharing.
Can you email it to Maureen? Oh.
Well, actually, I can do this right now. So I said multiple people can share. So you should be able to share now, Andrea.
Okay, let me see. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, so, all right, so we are sharing now, and let me get the chart up on the screen and just down.
Oh, yes, I'm so glad you're sharing.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine trying to actually envision this, Andrea.
Yeah, I completely understand. I'm very visual myself, so this birth chart, so let me just get it clear here and get the chart on the screen. So, you can do a birth chart based on the birth of anything, a person, a pet. This is the United States birth chart, and it tells us this is done for July 4th, 1776 at 5:24 p.m. And this is what I've always used as the birth chart. They call it the U.S. Sibley birth chart. And so I'm going to point out some things about the birth chart, what this does is gives us, this is a language in itself. And like Elizabeth said, that, we want to know what it means. We don't want to just know the Mars is here, moon is there, and all the, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So this chart gives us some input into knowing who we are as a country and what we've come to work through in our experience as a country and a community of people on this planet at this time. So the U.S. birth chart, this is the sun sign. We were born with the sun in the zodiac sign of Cancer. This is the symbol for Cancer right here. And we also were born with Jupiter in Cancer, Venus in Cancer, which I'm pointing to, and Mercury in Cancer. Mercury is communication. Jupiter is truth, understanding, discovery. Venus is love. It's the feminine. It's our money, our value systems. And so I'm going to talk about these for a minute. So we were born with a lot of Cancer energy. Cancer is the nurturer, the caregiver of the zodiac, okay? And so it shows us as a very caring group of people that, you know, Cancer is a sign of the mother, the nurturer, the caregiver. So we have a lot of Cancer energy, but Cancer is also very protective. And there's a sense of security that's associated with that. So, you know, this is the basis of which we were formed. Now, the birth moon talks about the public, the people, how we felt, how, you know, it's our emotions and the way we're seen and recognized. The moon was at 27 degrees in Aquarius on our birth in the second house, like right on the cusp here. You can see this is what we call a cusp of the third house. And that indicates that we have very high ideals, and we're a country that's formed from a need to unite. And at the time of our birthday, July 4th, as I said before, 1776, we as a group were in agreement to form a community that stood strong together. And we get, you know, united we stand. So we also have, and I'm going to point these things out and I'm going to talk about them further. We were also born with Mars in Gemini in the 7th house. This part of the chart down here is an area that's associated with our money, our value, and our resources. So as a community, emotionally and subconsciously, we united with common goals. That's what the moon in Aquarius means. And with Mars in Gemini, Mars is about our actions, our movement, our activities, our desires. We see Mars in Gemini. And we were formed at a time when the United States was, you know, when there was war going on. There was a war. And you can see that by this square, this aspect right here to Neptune. And it was about belief systems, and it was with, you know, another country. And this is actually indicates the actions. When you see Mars squaring Neptune it's actually confusion about what actions to take, divided. We were actually divided because Mars in Gemini, there's a dual energy going on here. And the challenge was to get justice, to get clarity, to get truth. And so Mars is also an aspect here to Chiron. And Chiron is what we call the wounded healer. So the key to our healing, we look at Chiron for where the pain is, where the wound is, and we see Chiron very close to the, you know, the bottom of the chart here, which is the 4th house, which is the root, the home, the family, the homeland, so to speak. And it talks about the origins of our country began during a time of massacres, war, hateful rhetoric against amongst some of the leaders, and there was deceit. Neptune in poor aspect brings in the idea of deception, deceit. This part of the chart is about truth, justice, law. So the word genocide was something that one of the astrologers that I listened to talked about, that we were formed with that at the root of our, you know, some of the root of our being. And that's something that we're currently working on healing as a whole. Everybody that's alive right now, we're all working as a whole at healing this root, this pain that we experience on a very from a very core place. So there's some very painful wounds that we carry in our identity as a country. With Chiron in Aries in the 4th house, which is what I'm talking about right here, and transit, and so I'll add another chart around it after to show you the transit, but transiting Chiron and transiting Mars are both transiting this part of the chart. So it's triggering off some root pain and feelings of not being cared for, some real deep wounds of personal, just deep personal pain. And so with transiting Mars and Aries on top of this birth Chiron position, there's been major points of influence with Mars, and Mars is retrograde right now also. So we've got 2 things going on. We've got Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. We've got Mars retrograde until, and in November, these are both going to be November 3rd, Mercury's going to go direct. So we are going to have an election going on while Mercury is stationing. Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. When a planet is retrograde or stationing, it's very close to the Earth, so its energy is magnetized. And it's, Mars is going to turn direct on November 14th, so my personal opinion is that we're not going to have an answer or a clear answer right away on this election. We have Pluto in the birth chart in Capricorn, in the 2nd house, which is money, resources, our values. And we also have the south node of the moon in the 2nd house and the north node in the 8th house. Now, this is indicative of Pluto is power. It is control. It is transformation. And we are currently having what we call in the next 2 years, a Pluto return. So the structures that are in place right now, Capricorn is all about big government, big business, big companies, our careers. And Pluto, let me just explain, Pluto, the planet itself, is frozen on the surface. So if you think about the physical presence of Pluto, it's frozen on the surface, and the process of transformation that happens when you go through a transit to especially a birth planet is intense and powerful, life-changing. It breaks down what was. It's like the phoenix bird, the death of what was, so the rebirth can happen. So in many ways, what's happening is very, very painful, but it's also very exciting because we are, on the cusp of the Aquarian age coming. We're going to see some big introductions of that in December. I'm going to stay on course here. But so talk about the meaning of Pluto here in the 2nd house. This means from an evolutionary astrology perspective, we've come in with Pluto and Capricorn, being born with promises that in the sectors of money and resources and business, that we'd be a powerhouse. Our birth, we would be a country of big business. But we've got a return happening, and it's conjunctions, oppositions are 2 of the most powerful aspects in astrology, and that's what we have happening is a conjunction with Pluto. That's presently happening right now. So,
Andrea?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just have a quick question. So you have this as the birth, so basically the birth of the country on July 4th of 1776. So I know that you're making references to now and where we are now, but do you also have it later so that we'll see a comparison, or?
I do have the transit I'm going to put up. Okay. Around this. I just want to identify some key points before I head in that direction.
No, I think this is great. And you know what? I've never really gone in deep with understanding on this, and I think you're explaining it very well. And I have to say, my eyes being drawn to that red line kind of splitting that circle right in half, right? Does that, as far as say Pluto, does that have any significance where it's split literally in the middle?
Absolutely. That oppositions, like I was saying, that's a great question because Pluto is in opposition to Mercury in our birth chart. And so that means that we either powerfully connect with other countries in our financial sectors, or wars can be fought over disagreements, or the 8th house is other people's resources, other people's money, banks, lending institutions, mortgages, the stock market, and we have the North Node, meaning the direction we came here together to go, in Leo, in the 8th house of banks, lending institutions. So this opposition right here is, where I said something the other day, I think in talking about what we're doing tonight, this virtual talk show, together we're much stronger than what, united we stand, divided we fall. That is a big, this right here explains it. It's very powerful. United we stand, divided we fall. Because Mercury is the way we, this is talking to other people about their sense of security. So we've been a powerhouse in extending our resources to others. We're at a place now where we need to heal ourselves very, very much. And at the same time, connect with the rest of the world and it's a collaboration. Oppositions, there's so much we can say about that, but this is being triggered very powerfully these next 2 years and right now. So we do have an orientation toward power. And, I don't want to talk the whole time because I want to make sure that everybody can ask questions also. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to add another chart around this and just show you what I'm talking about, because this is the transit we're in right now as we speak. And you can see so we've got the United States birth chart in the middle. That's this ring. And the outside ring is what we call a transiting chart, which shows us how the outside world, meaning the planets that surround us here on Earth, the solar system of which we are a part of, these planets are our neighbors. So their influences are very strong. And our influences to them and their influences to us are strong. And so I was talking earlier about Chiron and Mars. And you see the red numbers, that means that they're retrograde, meaning that there's this introspection going on. There's this inner visitation for everybody on Earth right now. There's primal, people have got primal fears coming up around survival. Aries is all about the self and self-desire. There's so many people even changing their direction of their career because they're realizing that they can't do what they used to do. So it's like a total discovery of the self. And with Chiron as we speak right now is right on our IC, which is the lowest point in Latin. It means inum coeli, the roots of our being. And Chiron is the key to healing. It's also showing us where our wounds are, which are right here at home. In our home, our roots are with our families. And Mars is just past Chiron here, and I talked before about conjunctions. So we've got some very powerful transits going on. As you can see, we've got Pluto returning to the spot where it was at our birth. Right now, the North Node, which points the direction we're meant to go, is to gather information, is to communicate, to network. Gemini is the newscaster. It is the sign that looks at both sides of everything. They gather information. They are the thinkers of the zodiac. They're one of the air signs. So there's a lot of things coming up from the past right now. This South Node, the past around beliefs. Sagittarius is with far travel, higher education, belief patterns, beliefs that we were brought up with, and we're meant to share knowledge with each other. We're meant to network. This part of the chart is all about relating to other people. So we have a very powerful, I'm going to show this just real quick of the United States. We have a very powerful full moon coming up this Saturday. This is intense, very, very intense. You can see it right here. The moon is at 8 degrees. 8 is the number of infinity. It's right next to Uranus at 8 degrees in Taurus. So Uranus is striking, unbelievable, unexpected. But I think what's happening is that we are experiencing major truth surprises, unveiling of many different things which are so unbelievably shocking. And you can see the north node of the United States right here is at 6 degrees of Leo. This is 8 degrees. So we've got a 2-degree difference. That means that our direction as a whole, meaning our past and our future, are changing so fast. This is being called the Great Reset on Earth. What we're experiencing. I get chills thinking about it because it's, you know, it's like DNA codes being changed. It's amazing. It's unbelievable what's happening. This part of the chart is being recognized, being noticed. Our Taurus is the sign that's associated with money, with values, with our resources, with our agriculture. And so we are going, this is what we call a fixed square to the south node and the north node. And so that indicates that there are some things that have been frozen, stuck for a long, long time that are being awakened. And, you know, there's that saying, we don't have to learn the hard way. But many people do because it's very easy. We're human. We get caught in patterns and we don't realize it. So we have, this is things that have been this way for a long time. You know, I have seen this, like, you ever see when you drop a piece of glass and it just goes, you know, into many pieces? That's kind of like, I see it like that. But like, how do we put this back together? You know, there's some real deep realizations. The full moon illuminates. It lights up the sky at night, right? So wherever it is in a chart, it illuminates an area. And that right here is, you know, it's time for us to think from our hearts and recognize and appreciate each other. And, you know, there's a number of, let me kind of bring up some of the points that I wrote down here. Chiron has been at the root of the chart, transiting the chart of the U.S. since March of 2019, and it is going to be there. You know, it's you can see it's almost out of this house because it goes in what, a retrograde motion right now. And Uranus, this planet right here, it's been squaring the nodes, which is what I was just talking about, since July 4th of 2019, and it's going to continue to square those nodes until January of 2021. That means that it's like we're blasting, there's change that's happening, there's huge surprises, things are speeding up, time is speeding up, and this has a lot to do with our resources, our money, how we're recognized, how we're noticed, changes in the financial sectors, changes with the stock market, changes with our resource, changes with our communities, our individual goals. So let me just, I want to make sure that I'm hitting some of these really important points.
Yeah, and just another quick question. So Saturday, you're saying, is going to be a spectacular or something to do with the moon, right? So is there something maybe we should be doing, or is it you know, meditation? Is there something you would recommend for us to do?
Yeah, I would highly recommend that you tap into the higher Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. Mercury is our earth mind, our logical mind, our thinking mind. Uranus is the intuition. It is the higher vibration of Mercury, so it's the higher mind. So anything that takes you out of your mind into a different, to change the mind, get out of the mind, meditation, walking in nature, anything that brings you a sense of security. Because Taurus, our security is really stressed right now. And we just feel like, it almost feels like the earth is shaking. You know, when you have a full moon, everything is lit up. So you get to see, we're going to get to see the areas that we really very critically need to make changes in. And I want to bring up some of the things here about the Uranus squaring the nodes, because that's what this full moon is doing. And so the Uranus in square to the lunar nodes is a strong call for truth and to gain clarity, to wake up about who we are, and to do the work of the 8th house, to do the emotional work, remember the reality of our history, to move through this process with courage and open hearts to heal from the pain and loss, and to overcome and recover. So it's really important that we focus on those areas, because it can make us feel, change is happening so fast, it makes us feel like we're just kind of shaking. And so anything, whether it be journeying, whether it be anything that equalizes, helps to balance your mind, meditation, connecting with your guides, all really helpful. Rest also.
Thank you.
Rest, definitely rest. I don't think I could go to sleep at night without I do a meditation that equalizes my brain, because I'm too much in my, up here. So what we're being asked to do right now is to look at our shadows, to do our shadow work, to look into the deeper aspects of ourselves. Either if we don't do that, we end up acting out those shadows. And so those are the Uranian, the crazy unexpected things that happen. So it's better to, to do the work on the shadows rather than to experience those profound, painful, destructive things. So this is where, so I am going to start talking now about Donald Trump and Joe Biden a little bit, because actually Donald Trump does trigger this genocide piece that we were birthed with. And so basically, what's getting activated is the interaction with Donald Trump in our country. Is he's got Mars. Let me show you his chart around the United States chart. He has, let me get his chart up here. I've had these charts, by the way, on my desk for, I don't know, I think 2 months now, because people keep asking me, and I've been too, I have to have all the information before I'll start talking about it. So, and still then, you're talking about what, how, where, and the way it's, way these planets, I call it, this is how Donald Trump's energy is conversing with the United States birth chart. So we have his chart on the outside, June 14th, 1946. He was born in Queens, New York at 10:54 a.m. And as you can see, his Mars is in Leo in the 8th house, and it is opposite our birth moon. Now, Mars in Leo is fearless. There's not any action that he would not take with Mars and Leo. Leo is very, very, it's the strongest fire sign of the zodiac because it's fixed. And so his Mars in Leo is opposite our birth moon. Mars in Leo acts on its own behalf, wanting recognition. Also Mars can be very much in Leo, like, Leo is fun-loving and motivated. Leo is one of the leader signs of the zodiac because it's one of the fire signs. And now but he does activate, do you see this right here? His Sun in Gemini, his North Node in Gemini, and his Uranus in Gemini are right on top of that, what I pointed out to you before, the Mars squaring Neptune. So his Sun, his light, his spirit, his drive, his will, his life direction, he's a very intelligent man. Uranus next to the Sun is a signature of a brilliant person, very, very smart. But also, there's a duality, a strong duality, but all of this energy right on top of that birth Mars squaring Neptune triggers that foundation we were born with while we were at war. So he triggers that. Well, Joe Biden, we look at Joe Biden's chart, and Joe Biden, oops, I got 3 charts. Hang on, I don't want that. I need just to get Joe Biden's. Okay, so Joe Biden, he was born on November 20th, 1942 at 8:30 a.m. He is a Scorpio. You can see his Sun and Venus in Scorpio. This is a very compassionate man who's been through a lot in his life. He's an empath. There's signatures that you can identify, things like that. These patterns that people are shaped by as they're from a young age, or even in gestation, you can see that. But he has a signature of an empath in his chart. But what you can see with Joe Biden, his Saturn is on our descendant. So his Saturn right here this is the descendant. So this is the birth spot right here, or the ascendant. This is the descendant, meaning the relationships that we have with others and how we relate to others. His Saturn is very close to our descendant, and what that means is that he's got a sense of responsibility, and basically asking us to reflect on who we are. He's going to be very good at asking us to be responsible, to think about things, both sides of things, that he's working with knowledge. He's going to work really hard at communicating. So his Chiron is opposite our US, let's see here. His Chiron, do I have his Chiron turned on? And
It's there.
yeah, let me see.
Chiron in Aries.
That's the birth chart. I'm looking.
Chiron in Leo.
His Chiron, yes, is opposite the birth moon. Thanks, Lauren. I was getting, yeah, so his Chiron, his birth Chiron in Leo is opposite the US moon. So, which means he has the potential through his painful experiences to show us how to heal. Oppositions either bring us together or they divide us. So both Trump and Biden have their own personality issues. You can go into, we're all human. We have our talents. We have the things that we grow and learn through. So it's really significant, though, to see how their individual energies intersect with the energy of the country, and as it activates certain aspects of who we are. And like I said earlier, Abraham Lincoln said, how things unfold is our choice. So it's really important that everybody votes. And we all know it's important that we have our say. And the transits that we have right now are telling us it's a time for clarity and to cut through the illusions and see the truth and face our shadows of being traumatizing to others also, and have compassion. Joe Biden is a very, very compassionate man. If we look at his chart, I mean, here, this is his chart right here.
Wow.
He has a moon in Taurus. So he's a very strong, emotionally strong, stable person, and he's recognized for that, you know, that stability. And you see these blue lines right here to the North Node. His North Node is in the 9th house, meaning he seeks truth, he seeks justice. That's his life direction. And it's in Virgo, but this is a man, like I said, he has a mutable cross squared off. I'm actually going to be doing a workshop on that, because this right here, you can see this is a mutable sign. You've got a mutable North Node, a mutable South Node. South Node in Pisces, North Node in Virgo, and this is an out of sign square, but it's a mutable cross squared off, we call it. You don't see the aspects here because my friend who wrote this program, we had a huge conversation about mapping out the South Node aspects. The South Node means where we came from. North Node is where we're meant to go. South Node is our comfort, where our comforts lie. North Node is what's going to help, what's going to be fulfilling, what our soul agreed to come here and do. So this is a man, though, I know that has experienced a lot of loss in his life, but he also has some, I would say he has some pretty deep secrets and things that he keeps deeply buried. This part of the chart is secrets, hidden, unknown, unseen, but the compassion, you see these blue lines right here? Jupiter in Cancer, beautiful place for Jupiter to be. Jupiter, the biggest planet in our solar system. In trine means a gift. This is water. Water is compassionate, kind, understanding, you know, caregiving. So he has some real nurturing qualities. And what I wanted to point out, though, is that he has a lot of compassion for others. We should listen to conversations and the signs of the planets surrounding us, our neighbors, to heal and evolve and move toward the energies of the Aquarian age, which are about equality and mutual respect, compassion for each other, justice, and truth. So I'm going to talk here now a little bit again about, I'm going to jump around a little bit because there's different aspects of this that are showing up. And I want to add that this election is happening in Scorpio, which is, Joe Biden was born with the sun in Scorpio, so it's his home. It's where his spirit is at home. Scorpio is the most powerful fixed sign of the zodiac because it's fixed. It's the most powerful water sign because it's fixed. It means it's the strongest. It's able to identify hidden things, unknown things. It's like the quiet detective. But I wanted to add, though, that the sun is in Scorpio, which is his home sign. So this is going to be an interesting, this whole thing. Let me bring up, let's see here, I want Donald Trump's chart back up here again. Oh gosh, I have the two of them up here. I'm going to just leave Donald Trump's up for a bit because I can easily get distracted here and I don't want to. So Donald Trump, his North Node, I talked about this before, his North Node, his Sun, and his Uranus are right on top of the U.S. birth Mars. So he triggers the dual ideals and the genocide our country was birthed during. His Neptune trines are South Node. Let me get the U.S. birth chart back up here so you can follow me. take these aspects off because I don't want to see those. Okay, so as I was talking about right here, this is what I was talking about before. He triggers the dual ideas and the genocide our country was birthed during. His Neptune trines our south node. So his Neptune, this is his birth Neptune. It trines our south node. So, you know, Neptune in the positive, the most positive sense is compassion, unconditional love. You know, it is resolved, and but his Neptune is very stressed in his chart. His Mercury, meaning his mind, how he thinks, how he communicates, is in Cancer, and it squares Neptune. So there's an indication. I was just talking to one of my mentors about this last night, that he doesn't really know what the truth is. It's been, for him, his whole life, he doesn't mentally see things clearly. So what he says is not clear. That a square is a challenge. It means that that's a very dynamic part of our makeup, where we're going to experience challenges and growth. And so that where I'm getting lost here, his Neptune trines our south node, and it sextiles, and that's in the second house of our money, our resources. And his birth moon, you can see his birth moon right here in Sagittarius, and Mars in the US, Mars in Gemini. Do you see how it's opposite? So there's a lot of, I would say, karma going on with Trump in the United States, because there's just so many connections, and there would be with anybody that was in that position. But it's interesting how his moon triggers this is actually, the way I saw this when I was preparing this, is a recipe that triggers our root of pain, because 20 degrees, 20 degrees. You see where our pain, where we really need to work on healing. His moon, he has no filter. You know, Sagittarius typically on a negative side would be that it has no filter. It's direct to the point. You see the sign for Sagittarius is the picture of the archer shooting its arrow up into the heavens. So that is where he's comfortable. North Node in Gemini next to the Sun in Uranus, he's somebody who's meant to bring knowledge, information that brings change. But for the United States, he triggers an area of war, you know, and so it becomes very challenging, and we you know, so we can only look at historically what has happened. Let's see here. Jupiter is conjunct Chiron. Jupiter, he was born with Jupiter conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer, in the sign of Libra, relationships. There's, you know, you have to think with somebody that has, when you see cardinal squares, the challenge is to act in the right way, so to speak. I think he has a very difficult time at collaborating, at keeping peace, because he's got Chiron right next to Libra. So that would be an area where, you know, Jupiter in Libra wants to negotiate, wants to have peace, harmony, balance. And one thing I know about Libra, if there's something that's out of balance, it's going to bring up whatever's out of sync, so to speak. And with Chiron right next to it, that's this. I would say that he experienced a lot of pain at a young age with Jupiter. Hang on a second. Let me look at his chart. Jupiter actually trines. Jupiter is well aspected, but Chiron, I would say that there's some security issues in relationships and being able to be peaceful. that's one of the indications of Chiron right next to it. So there's a wounded relating to others and being diplomatic. Biden is Scorpio, as you saw, and he's someone, we talked about that already, a lot of compassion. He's somebody that probably is very generous also, would do, with all that 12th house, that's somebody that does a lot of work behind the scenes. And Biden, let's see here, we have Donald Trump's chart up here. Biden, Uranus is in Gemini, trines our south node. Okay, so let me show you that, because that's another Biden. Okay, so Biden, his Uranus, trines our south node and sextiles our north node. So he's somebody that would bring change in the healthcare sectors. Uranus is about change. It is waking us up to what needs to be done in order for, he would be somebody that would change the healthcare systems, because this part of the chart is about the health and wellness, and it's also the day-to-day work. Trine to the south, meaning that he would bring up the foundation of which we were born, which was unity, equality. And so there would be a lot of talk about that, and he brings in an opportunity for us to move through our shadows with courage and bravery. And this part of the chart is also our banks, our lending institutions. So there's a lot to do with resources that he has a nice connection with. Let's see. I talked about his moon in Taurus.
Hey, Andrea,
Yep.
Linda had a question. She wrote in
Okay.
chat, and she wants to know
Okay.
what's the energy of the day of election.
Okay.
Can we look at that?
Yeah. Do you want to look at it with Trump, Biden, or the U.S., or all of the above?
I don't know, Linda, what are you looking for?
I can't see the chat.
With the, I think with the U.S., how the United States is going to be, what the energy's like on the day of election.
Okay.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Good question, Linda. I was thinking the same thing. You must be psychic.
Okay. I don't know if I
Okay.
am, but it'd be nice.
Okay, so I'm gonna replace the outer chart here. We've got the United States birth chart, and we're gonna go get November 3rd. And November 3rd is when Mercury wakes up. See, I've got 7:53 p.m. I think the poll, don't they, it's close to midnight before they make any decisions, right? Typically?
Yeah, but the polls close at 7, so.
They
7
close
p.m.
at 7. Okay, so let's
But
just,
you got to look at the West Coast too.
But you have the timeline,
Oh.
the time differences, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. 3 hours, yeah.
yeah. Well, on the East Coast, because that's where I'm at right now. Here's 7 p.m., November 3rd. We see Mercury has just woken up from its retrograde in Libra, and it is squaring Mercury. That's not a good sign. Mercury squaring Mercury is a challenge to know, a challenge with information, a challenge about our security. It's Mercury's up in the 10th house about our future, our destiny. There's a square right there. So that right away is not a good sign of a decision. Venus is in Libra at 8 degrees, so it's trining Uranus. So that actually, and Uranus rules, so that's a signature right there. Let me look at the United States birth at Uranus. Venus is relationships, it is security, it brings up something beneficial wherever it goes. So we have Venus in trine to Uranus, so there is some unusual, there's going to be some really interesting news or conversations going on there. And this is about, I'd say there's some craziness, unexpected things that could be revealed through that energy right there. Then we have Mars is still retrograde in the 4th house, and it's actually squaring the sun. So it's a 2-degree away from squaring the sun in the chart. So we've got some, there could be some real uprisings from both sides with this going on, because this is our health, our well-being, our vitality, how we relate to each other. And the sun in Cancer is about security, and Mars in square to it. That's there's something going on there that's not very pleasant. That's not pleasant.
So it sounds like they're not going to have a decision on election night.
I really don't think so. I really don't think so. And the sun is at, let's see, the sun is in Scorpio, trining the sun here. So the transit sun, so the sun is shining on the people here. On this 11th house is groups, the different, I would say the different sides. In Scorpio, there's definitely a lot of emotion attached to this whole thing. And there's going to be some, I think that this full moon is going to bring up some very deeply hidden things. And because I know it squares Trump's Pluto in his 12th house, which is secrets, hidden, unknown, and power. And I don't remember what it's doing for Biden. I'd have to go look again, but on election day here.
He had secrets too, is that what you were saying before, but not in that spot? Because I'm not really familiar with the different locations, Andrea. So like, I'm trying to keep up. You're doing amazing. I'm trying to keep up. So I don't know if I'm adding or distracting from you. Sorry.
No. I lost your question though. What was your question?
No, it was when you said hidden secrets, and I'm trying to remember what what Biden had. And I know you didn't mention it. I recall you saying it, but I think it was on the other side, not the right-hand side. It was on the left, right?
Yeah, it was on the left.
It was on the left.
Yeah, Biden had all his Scorpio energy right here in the 12th house. So he does have some pretty deep, he has some very reserved areas, things that he likes to keep to himself. And he has experience, though, I don't know, his
Carol just says Joe has moon in Taurus in the 4th house.
Joe Biden, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Carol.
Yep. Was there a question with that?
Nope, she was just stating a fact.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I look at inauguration is January, right?
Right.
Is in January.
Yeah.
And January 20th. I think, to tell you the truth, my opinion is that looking at the eclipses that start coming up in November and then in December, my intuition and what I saw with the chart is that Trump's going to be going in a different direction, that there's some things from the past that he has to deal with on a personal level. I saw that with his chart. Biden, let me go bring them back up here again. Trump. Okay, so on November 3rd, 7 p.m. So we got Trump's birth chart here. North Node is in the 10th house, meaning that the direction that he's meant to go right now is to be out in the world, is to be being heard. And the moon is in Gemini, right on top of his sun, his North Node, and Uranus. So there's divided emotions that are going to show up. There's a division there that night. And let's see what else does he has some pretty tough stuff going on in his chart also. He has Jupiter, transiting Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, all in opposition to Venus and Saturn. So he's at a huge crossroads, even with Mars. Mars is opposite Jupiter and Chiron. So he's got two major oppositions going on that right at that time. Very, very powerful. So it's a huge crossroads for him. Either he is, I often see oppositions as something coming out of nowhere. We don't know. It depends on both parties and how they interact, how things are decided. So Mars over here in the 8th house he's under attack by, I would say, that other people. Mars in Aries does not sit still. I would say that, and Mars is a god of war, right?
Andrea, could I ask, is Trump on the outside or on the inside? I'm just a little confused because I guess I was watching your mouse going, where the... So Trump is on the inside. His sun is in the 10th house in Gemini, correct?
That's correct.
And so the White House on the day of the election, its sun is in the 3rd house, correct?
That's the transiting sun.
Okay, for
Yeah.
the White House though, on the day of the election.
That's this location. This is Trump's birth chart.
On the
This is the-
inside.
Yes. And the
Okay.
outside chart is the transiting planets, meaning how the outside world is affecting him or influencing him on the day of the election at 7 p.m. at night, November
Okay.
3rd. And I mean, he definitely at a very powerful crossroad. To tell you the truth, until Mars goes direct, I'm not sure we're going to know by the 14th. I'm
Of
not sure.
November?
Yep.
Wow.
Because I think Mars is about our movement, our activities.
Yep.
It's our desire. And this is in the 8th house. So this is other people challenging his sense of security. This is other, outside forces. You'd have to almost say with Mars in opposition, it could be some sort of attack, some type of action. Yeah, there's some major opposition going on here between Jupiter in opposition to his Saturn, Jupiter in opposition to Venus. So things are either going to come together for him or they're going to fall apart. It depends on.
So Andrea,
Yeah.
what about the inauguration day for the Trump chart and the Biden chart? Would that tell us anything?
Yeah, I looked at that. Let me go get that date. January 20,
Mhm.
2021. And I think it usually happens like at 10 in the morning, doesn't it? Something like that. I hope they don't do it with the moon void of course like they did with Obama, because they had to do it again. Void of course, when you do something when the moon is void of course, it means you usually end up doing it over again.
Yeah, that's right. He had the wrong Bible or something.
Yeah. It's,
So Andrea, we need to start wrapping up. Does
Oh,
anyone
yes.
have any questions for Andrea?
Well, let's look at Inauguration Day, see
Yeah, Yeah.
what she's
Okay.
got there.
yeah, this is Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2021, with Donald Trump's chart. And the moon, oh boy, the moon is actually void.
Hmm.
Well, no, it would be actually trining, the moon is actually going to trine the birth chart moon of the sextile his moon. So this 9th house is politics, it's justice, it's truth, and he's got Uranus, and it's also law. and Uranus and Mars are squaring his Pluto. So that's like a big block. Pluto rules his fourth house, which is his home, his family, his root. So, you know, there's indications here that there's some big changes happening in his life, and that almost there would indicate to me that due to politics, he has to change in his house, his home. That can be one indicator right there.
Yeah, great.
Venus is squaring his Jupiter. Transiting Venus in Capricorn. Venus hates to be in Capricorn, but there's a square there, so that's something very challenging going on as far as security and relationships with his children. And I think most of his children have a place in government in his
Yeah. What does Joe Biden look like on the 20th?
Let's go see.
You read my mind again, Linda.
Okay.
You have little faith. You are psychic.
Okay, so we've got 10 a.m. January 20th, 2021, Joe Biden. We have a lot of energy in his chart in his second house of security. And squaring his moon.
Do you have to put the White House in there? Or I thought when you had Trump up here, you had Trump on the inner, and I thought I saw the words White House.
Yeah, but where does Biden live now? Does anybody know?
He lives in Delaware.
Delaware.
He lives in Delaware? Okay. Because we don't know if he's going to be in the White House. We don't know if he's going to be in the White House, so I don't want to put that location. But on the East Coast, let me go adjust his chart for Delaware.
I didn't know if that would matter or not.
Location matters, but I don't know if he's going to be in the White House or not. So we'll put his current location for now, because typically until the inauguration, I mean, I don't think he'll be in the White House, right?
Right.
So his current location would be United States, and he's in Delaware.
Yes.
Does anybody know what city?
Maryland, isn't it?
What is it?
Maryland?
Greenville?
Greenville?
That's what I think I saw, Greenville.
Newcastle County or Kent County? Probably Newcastle. I don't know. Well, it's pretty close, so let's just go with that for right now. Okay, so January 20th, we have Venus in Capricorn. Let's see.
Wilmington.
Yeah, it's Greenville is a suburb of Wilmington.
So is it Wilmington?
Okay.
They're pretty close. It's like Tavares and Mount Dora.
So that's close enough for what we're doing. To tell you the truth, the moon is void of course, is in a late degree of Aries here. So I don't know what time they're planning on doing this, but it ought to be either later in the afternoon when the moon moves into the next sign, or earlier than this, because they're going to end up doing it again if not.
You need to text them.
Yeah, right. He has Mars. Okay, so transiting Mars and Uranus are squaring Pluto in his chart too. So they both have a very similar challenge, but for him, this is a lot of energy around recognition, big changes in his resources, his activities. Pluto is power. He's Joe's Biden. He's dealt with people in his life that have, you know, been very overpowering. So there's something here that's changing in his life. And I have to say that this is some big growth for him. So his North Node is in the 7th house, which is about relating to other people. That there's a new direction for him when it comes to the relationships in his life. 19 degrees, what does that do in his chart? It's in conjunct Mercury. So, you know, Trump has some things on that day, on election day, that are like the North Node is right on his sun. So it, you know, that is favorable for him. Where, but I think Biden, I can't remember now unless I go back and look at November 3rd, had some favorable things too. Mercury squaring Mercury, that's very difficult. That's accepting things that you don't want to accept, or news, that there's some information or knowledge that's mentally difficult for him. So it's really hard to judge. Like I said at the beginning, I don't want to predict the outcome because there's just so much that is unsteady, unstable. And so it's quite frankly, it's very hard to judge. But what we do see here, do you see this? In opposition to his Jupiter and Pluto, that oppositions either bring us together with strength, with a common cause. We leave our differences aside and we join together. Or, you know, and it brings people of like minds together. But this one right here, we've got the Sun, Saturn, and Jupiter. So this is an indication of a lot of responsibility for groups of people and around security. Jupiter in Aquarius, this is what I was talking about in December happening. We're getting this introduction to the age of Aquarius.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this could be, see, his Pluto rules his 12th house, but it's in his 8th, where Trump, Mars and Uranus, this is changing the status quo. There's a big change happening right here.
Maybe the secret he's going to learn is that aliens really do exist. Yay! The truth of
Finally, we find out.
Well, we're certainly all gonna, who knows though what we're hearing, what's the truth. I personally, there's a lot of questions that I have, and I don't want to say my opinions because I don't think that this is the place for it.
No, I'm glad, because you're just giving us information and then we should make up our own minds.
That's right. And yeah. During one of our classes Lauren was in, we studied Abraham Lincoln's chart, and he was quite a visionary, a man who was plagued by a lot of pain, but also very strong and very positive. And what did I said in the beginning? He said the best way to predict the future is to choose it.
That's a good point.
That's a great quote. That's a great quote.
Yeah, and you know, at the beginning, there's the guy who predicted every single election.
Mm-hmm.
You remember I said every single election, John Antonakis. Wait a minute, it was
Alan Lichtman.
Yeah, Lichtman, right? He has for 4 decades predicted every single presidential election, and he says that Trump's going to lose.
We shall
Well,
see.
We'll have to see.
Well, all,
You
it
know.
may take a while, I think, before we all, have our answers. But yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be a while.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm weighing things out too as I'm studying, and it's quite overwhelming. There's so much information here, and there's good things on both sides, but we see that we need change. We need positive change in the world, in our United States, and we need to unite. And we don't need to be divided or confused with, dual ideals. So it's a decision of what we want, what we each personally want.
So
And-
go vote. Go
Yeah,
vote.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep, everyone go vote. Go
I
vote.
did already.
Yep.
that's for sure.
Yeah. So
Great.
yes. So I hope that this has been enlightening.
Very.
Thanks, Andrea.
Andrea, thank you. And
Yes.
also, someone had asked, how could they contact you? So you want to give
yeah.
your website, an email or phone or whatever?
Yep, my website is turntothestars.com. TURNTOTHESTARS.com. I think it's let me hold on a second. Let me stop sharing my screen because it's on my background right here, turntothestars.com. My email is andrea@turntothestars.com, ANDREA. And I don't know if anybody's interested. I do have a couple classes that are coming up. They're on my website. One of them is on my website. The other one is something completely new. You heard me talk about Biden, that is an empath. There's a signature that shows up in a person's chart of being an empath. And this has been something I've been studying for a long time because I'm an empath. And I, our charts do show these patterns that we repeat over and over and over again. So the first class I have coming up is on November 14th, and this is 8 weeks of astrology. Lauren was actually in my classes, Lauren Tabor, and
You're fabulous. I learned so much.
she's a great student.
No, you're a good teacher.
No, thank you.
And your workbook is amazing too.
Thank you.
So
Years of
Yes, it is.
We are so lucky to have her in Mount Dora. Yay.
yes, we are.
Yeah,
You're right about that.
I'm so glad she's here.
Well, I'm glad I'm with all of you, that's for sure. And I appreciate all the nice comments. But that class is 8 weeks, and it's going to be on a Saturday from 11 to 1, starting November 14th. So it's interactive. Everybody gets their birth chart. And there's 2 hours. I like Lauren said, I have it. It's a PDF file that you get, that you have exercises, my formulas that I've created for putting it all together. It's recorded. It's on Zoom, so you can play it back and go over it. And then, so that's one thing I'm doing. And then the next thing, that this is something completely new that I'm doing, I'm so excited about. It's going to start January 13th from 6 to 8, and there's actually 2 dates. If you can't do one, maybe you can do the other. And it's called Identifying the Empath Energy, Identifying Empath Patterns with Astrology, and Heal Your Life by Developing New Healthy Patterns. So, it said if we change our belief, we can change our patterns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, everyone, that's what I got.
Well, again, Andrea, thank you for being our guest tonight. And thank you for everyone coming,
Thank
participating,
you.
asking great questions. Now go and vote.
Yay, great job.
Thank you
Great
so
job.
much.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
was great.
everybody. It's great to see
Bye,
you all.
Andrea.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great night, everybody.
Have a
Take
great
good
night.
care.
Take care.
Thank
That's
you.
Maureen,
Thank you.
and